Steve, thank you so much for joining us. When the MEC said that there is panic and misery, what did he mean?
Well, we are much concerned about the numbers that we see because you know that he said over 1,000 educators, testing positive, and also just about 2,000 learners testing positive. So it's quite concerning. But we're working very closely with the Department of Health to manage in our space. And like as we normally say, we are expert-driven, so we take advices from them.
So is it still 20 schools across the province, public schools, that have been closed so far?
Indeed. When we were addressing the legislature with that budget vote, we're sitting at 20. So you know that we normally update our numbers on Fridays. So we should be in a position to update the numbers on Friday, which is tomorrow. It will give us an indication on how we're doing. But we are monitoring very closely as a department and making sure that all our schools, they work very closely with the Department of Health so that they are advised, on what to do. So we want to discourage people who will want to say they just want to probably go and disrupt schooling and say they want to shut down schools. I mean, we had an incident in one of our schools was threatened, employees threatened there, and they, released the learners. And that's not the way of doing things, because we need to do an assessment and check on the impact if there are cases at a certain school, so that we make an informed decision on how we're going to be managing. But to go on a sporadic, a situation where we just want to go and close schools, that's not the way of doing it.
I suppose that's where the panic is coming in, is that people are really panicked. So 20 schools out of, I think you said, around just over 2,000 public schools in Gauteng, am I right?
We have over 2,200 schools. So if we say 20 out of that, so you can see the numbers. And we have over 3 million learners in Gauteng. So when we say just close to 2,000 learners, and you can have an indication. I mean, educators we have over just around 60,000, and we're saying 1,000 testing positive.
Yes, so it's about 1% of the schools that are closed in Gauteng. Are other schools pending? I mean, have you in this past week, and I know the latest results are going to be announced tomorrow, but are you seeing quite a lot of other schools now at risk of closure?
Well, we monitor the numbers daily, because schools, especially your school principals, they know what to do, follow the standard operating procedures, look at the cases that are reported, and they report to relevant officials, the district, and they link with their office to say, how are we assisting the school to move forward. That's why we normally encourage schools to interact with the schooling community. The parent body need to know what is happening in the school.
You're so right. Communication. Yeah, communication is the key, because I think that's where the fear grows, when you don't know what's going on. And speaking of communication, I have to bring in, the unions are concerned. They say that the education authorities are not being transparent about vaccines for teachers. We know, of course, this is a national issue. We're expecting some 300,000 doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccines arriving on Friday. They feel that they're not being communicated with. And I'm just wondering, could you tell us exactly what the plan is? Once those doses arrive on Friday, which is what we're told now, that they're arriving on Friday, how soon will they be getting into teachers' arms?
No, well, we want to confirm that the process is much ahead. As the Department of Education, we work very closely with the Department of Health on this one, because they need to lead the process on how they're going to be doing it. But from our perspective, we then need to avail educators. We need to make sure that we interact with the educators and say, how are they going to be accessing the doses? But yes, the about 300,000 doses have been confirmed. And as soon as they are availed in our space, then we'll be in a position to assist the Department of Health, because in any way they must still administer the process. So for us is to make sure that the process is seamless, and we work very closely with them so that they can then administer the process. So we're working very closely with the Department of Health. We have joint meetings. We know their plans, and we know on how we must support them. The unions, they need to be assured that whatever we do, we have a best interest of our educators as well, because they're in our space and they're our employees. So they need to be assured that we are working very closely to make sure that this process is seamless, and we are working towards making sure that we're going to manage this process.
All right. Well, thank you very much for chatting to us this evening, Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona.